Today's episode of INDIgroove is brought to you by the Port of Spain T-shirt company. Welcome to this week's episode of INDIgroove. INDIgroove is an interview program about independent musicians, designers, artists. Can you tell that I'm reading this? Today we're opening with CANAL. CANAL is a group that I did the head jerk video to. They're a huge underground band from Trinidad and Tobago who tours Europe, America, all over. What CANAL has got going on now is that they've uploaded an entire brand new album to the internet that you can download for free. Check them out.
Tell us where you're liming now and where you're not liming.
I'm not much of a limer, so in terms of where I lime at home. And it may sound strange, but just the other day I was thinking, for the most part, because of where I live, I don't have to go out to meet people. People fall in constantly. Well, I live in a little house that's called Little House, and it's located in Woodbrook, in a very accessible part of Woodbrook, and I've been living there for the past 15 years. But I guess the reason why the Little House is the kind of place that it is because it was formerly one of Mitchell's studios. He invited me to house it when they took off to Barcelona in '92, and I took up the challenge of house sitting. I had no plans of leaving home. I was living home at my parents in Trinidad City up to that point, and I've been traveling, going to London and New York and whatnot, and coming back. So by the time he introduced the idea of staying in Little House, I was ready to grab at it, and I jumped on it, and I've been there for 15 years now.
Tell me some of your experiences with touring. The reality, is it glamorous? Because when we at home and you say, oh, they're going on tour, and you're real glad and you're hit. Give me some experiences.
Well, you see, that's one of the first things is like getting on the soca train at that time. Most times you have a big song, so you eat a food and you go on tour. But in that context, going on tour generally meant that you were going to be roughing it on your cousin's floor in Brooklyn, all you pack up in one little space fighting for a couch or something, and real rough and tumble, and from the time you arrive, is a session, and you arrive and it's just like a non-stop party, and you live in fairly rough and tumble, and you cut your gig, and if it's a good promoter, you get your full payment. If not, you get a piece, and next year you'll get the next piece. Or as in our case in Toronto, with one particular promoter, in lieu of per diems, he brought us pilau and Milo because he thought that we wanted home food, even though we just left home. And there were a plethora of restaurants in the vicinity, like Vietnamese and Thai and things that we wouldn't have mind sampling. And on the night of the gig, he arrived with a bunch of roses, and that was a sign that no payment was involved. But you live through that, We've done all kinds of gigs, man. We've performed in all kinds of situations. We perform with one mic, we perform hanging off the side of a truck, hanging off the side of a railing of a building, on top of fire escape in a panyard in London, and bring the vibes. And I'm glad we did that, it was rough and tumble. Then we decided to go after the European touring, and there are lots of little festivals and things in Europe. And we've penetrated quite a few of those festivals. People ask, how do you get into Montreux Jazz Festival? How do you get to, Manosque Festival, the largest Antillian festival in Belgium, and all these different festivals. But the level at which we're going to these things is, is in and out. You arrive in the morning, you just check in the hotel, you cut your sound check, run back to your hotel, change your clothes, cut the gig, have a few hours sleep, get on that plane next morning and head back out. And it's very unglamorous, it's very testing, it's very challenging, but there's a rush to it. There's a festival crowd, you go and you just do your best, and people appreciate it, they lap it up. They ain't care if you land from Mars half the time once you're singing good in those contexts. People really do appreciate the music. You actually sell merchandise. If you walk with your t-shirts and your CDs, you can actually. So you see the potential for it. You have to prove yourself as a festival act. The festival circuit is very small. There's a word-of-mouth circuit. This one who run in WOMAD in the Canaries knows the one who run in WOMAD in Sydney. So if you impress here, you know, it could guarantee more work. So we were able to string together a series of gigs from the end of July to the beginning of September that was sufficient in themselves to pay for that period and justify the expense of putting the team on the ground there, and use London as our base, and then also as we were on the ground, capitalize on whatever opportunities might arise. And it made sense and it worked, because we went out for 6 weeks, we had enough of the premier gigs to kind of guarantee that we could get there and pay our housing for the 6 weeks, and then we had enough gigs on the ground in London to ensure that everybody could literally eat their food at the end of it.
You're now able to download your music online. How is that going, and how does that benefit the band? How does that?
Well, Womex again. There's a big book that they publish in Womex, and what Womex is, I should put it in context really, because what it is a big trade fair for festival people who have festivals and people who book acts and people who looking to book acts to labels and that sort of thing. So once a year they come together in Seville, Spain, and it's like a big market literally, and during the day people set up stalls and they tout their wares, whichever act they might be selling or whichever festival they might be selling or whatever. And then there's a huge area where everybody congregates, where as you're walking you just see posters and flyers and stickers, and that's for all the bands that are there for those 3 or 4 days in Seville. And each night they have showcases of these various bands. So you shop around during the day, make your business contacts, you go home, relax, eat some dinner, and then at night you come out and you take in a show. A series of shows arranged in 2 huge tents on a big plaza, and you just go from one tent to the next kind of thing. So we were linked up with an agent who had a booth, so we went and put our products on his booth, and you had to be around and say hi and sign things, and it's literally a market and you're the product. And the day of our showcase, you had to go and pull down people's posters and put up your poster, and then you come back later and see your poster removed, and rough and tumble gorillas, and they made it so it was like that the guards themselves would come and remove posters where you weren't supposed to put posters, and people would walk around in chicken suits and hand out flyers just so you'd notice them, and it was a real crazy, heady environment, and it was scary walking in there because you realize, oh no, I don't think we have all the tools. And we didn't make no big posters, so we had to take all the little posters and stick them together and take up a whole wall, and the whole band became involved in posterizing the place and ripping down man poster, and you know, but it just showed us what it takes to sell the thing. But the story was that the big talk of Womex was you have to be prepared to give away your music, and that the future of the music business was in live performance. And just around that time Madonna was flipping from her label to sign into a live touring agent thing, and just realizing that yes, it's making sense, and all the signs indicate, and the level at which we operate in, if we give away the music, we're not going to lose. We actually spreading the thing, just take the thing now, and then somebody will see it and hear it somewhere and get in contact with you and true to form. So we came back from Womex and we got the opportunity to do anti-piracy jingle, and we said we're not interested in a jingle, we're not interested in anti-piracy as a sentiment, because we live in the 21st century and everybody have a computer and everybody have a CD burner, and for every time you generate something electronically and you put it out there, it's at the mercy of. So you have to see things differently, you know. So we were prepared to see things differently, and we introduced to them the concept that we had picked up at Womex. Let's give it away.
Well, we've been speaking with Mr. Wendell Manwarren, member of CANAL, and teacher, artist, general, urban Trini.
Yeah, urban. Although I love in the country more and more as I get a little older.